Hello there, Lunar Squadron, and welcome back to the channel. Now that Marvel's Spider-Man 2 has officially released, the biggest conversation within the community is all about DLC. Are we getting any DLC? When could said DLC possibly come out? And what characters would be involved in a potential DLC for Marvel's Spider-Man 2? And one of the biggest names that keeps popping up is Matt Murdock, Daredevil himself. And actually this week, a brand new theory has emerged that could potentially provide evidence for a Daredevil DLC in Marvel Spider-Man 2. We're going to break that all down, as well as a brand new gameplay update that actually directly addresses one of the other talking points that points towards a potential Daredevil DLC. We're going to break down all of that for you today, but before we do that, if you're new to the channel, we would love to have you as always, and the way to do that, just go down below this video, hit that little subscribe button, the bell notification right on next to it. It'll notify you every single time that Andreas and I upload. Now with that out of the way, Andreas, are you ready to talk about Daredevil, Elektra, and maybe even the Hand?
Oh yeah, let's do this, guys.
Alright guys, so the first place that I actually want to start is with the most relevant information, the newest thing that came out, and that is the brand new gameplay update that actually dropped Tuesday morning. And if you guys haven't seen the patch notes yet for this update, it is available on Insomniac Games website and on their Twitter account. And the patch notes for this update just detail a couple minor polishes and fixes to the overall gameplay. It's nothing crazy, not like the Spider Cube fiasco from the last few weeks or fixing the Puerto Rico flag for Miles. Nothing huge, but Andreas, there actually was an additional fix in this game that was not noted in the patch notes that we noticed while swinging around in Hell's Kitchen.
That's right, Nick, and this change is directly relevant to a talking point from last week where some folks over at IGN noticed that the Nelson and Murdock law firm had been changed, the storefront had been changed to remove the Nelson and Murdock sign, and when directly confronted with the question as to why that change had occurred, this is what Bryan Intihar said.
One of our gameplay editors noticed Nelson and Murdock's sign is gone. Is that intentional or is that just oops?
Are they okay?
Yeah. Did they break?
Maybe did they upgrade? We just haven't found their bigger building.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of us. I worked remotely almost the whole project, so yeah. That's a good question. Stay tuned.
Okay.
Yeah. Good find though.
After this response from Bryan Intihar, only a matter of days later, Insomniac has gone into the game and changed this storefront yet again for another time. And this is a long history of changes now because this storefront has looked different since the first iteration in Spider-Man 1, then in Miles Morales it changed again, and then in the release of Spider-Man 2 it's changed, and now it's changed again another time, and now the sign is back. It looks like this. There's the Nelson and Murdock sign, and that notice from the Department of Architecture Preservation is no longer on the door. So I guess there's really two questions here, the first of which being, does this mean anything? And the second of which is, why would Insomniac change it so much? Is this just a mistake, or is this actually a suggestion that something bigger is going on here?
Yeah, those are great questions, and honestly, the way I'm feeling about this is that it was just a mistake to have it show up like that initially in the game, and that they just went in with these updates and just fixed it to how it should, with Nelson and Murdock's sign being on the storefront, on the plaque. That makes a lot more sense than them just randomly disappearing, especially if we want Daredevil to show up in potential DLC or in his own standalone game down the road. Like, it would be nice for him to still be in Hell's Kitchen and for his law firm to still be up and running. So it's definitely a better thing for him to be back. But really, at the end of the day, I don't think this is turning out to be a big deal at all. I don't think this is any evidence pointing to or against there being any Daredevil DLC. I think it really was just an honest mistake by the team over Insomniac, and that they just addressed it. But the one thing that I really don't have an answer for until we get more information from Bryan Intihar or other people at Insomniac is the whole thing about, you know, staying tuned, nice catch, stuff like that, because it makes it sound like it was intentional, but then they kind of do it very quietly under the rug, like fix it the next week. So I'm not entirely sure what is going on here with this whole Daredevil, Matt Murdock, Nelson and Murdock law firm thing. We're just going to have to wait and see, to be honest with you, at the end of the day, and see if we ever get Daredevil DLC. But Andreas, there is another thing that came out this week that we definitely wanted to address, and that is a brand new theory that has been circulating on social media and within the community, pointing to potential evidence of the Hand actually being in New York City at this point in time, at least some sort of Easter egg, a bookstore that is in the Upper West Side, where on one side of the bookstore, there's actually room that you can look into, and it has some weapons, there's swords on the table, there's some shields on the walls, there's some guns against the wall. It definitely looks like a potential location for a militant group to hide out. But what people are pointing to and saying that this is possibly evidence of the Hand is this red symbol that is on the wall and outside on the concrete above the garage door. And to be honest with you, Andreas, we've looked into this a lot, and I've read Daredevil before, and I've watched all of the shows and all of that stuff. It is a character that I've heavily been involved in pretty much my entire life, and I have never personally seen a logo for the Hand that looks like this. If there is a logo out there, guys, that you have seen that this is like a variant of the Hand's logo, please point it towards us, because I've never seen one that looks like this. So I'm not quite sure where people are getting the Hand from this logo. But for the sake of conversation, Andreas, I would just like to entertain it for a second, because I would like to talk about what possibilities that opens up if this is in fact an Easter egg hideout for the Hand in Marvel Spider-Man 2. So for those of you who are not aware, the Hand is actually a group that is predominantly featured alongside Daredevil, Elektra, and Stick, and not to say that he's going to show up in this game, but they are featured a lot with Wolverine. But to stick with Daredevil, what makes this so exciting is the fact that when the Hand is involved with Daredevil, usually Elektra and Stick are pretty close behind. So if the Hand is in Marvel Spider-Man 2 in a future DLC, that just points me towards it being a Daredevil-themed DLC with the possibility for characters such as Elektra and Stick to show up, which would be incredibly exciting to see those characters make their way into Insomniac's verse. And honestly, if they did do a DLC alongside those characters featuring the Hand, and you get Elektra and Stick and all of those characters, it would really make me want a standalone Daredevil game even more, because that would just be incredibly exciting. But Andreas, what do you think? Are we dealing with the Hand here? Is this an actual Easter egg? Does it make sense? Or was this just something that somebody on the dev team threw in there? Maybe they forgot about it and it wasn't really supposed to be anything and they just tucked it away.
I mean, if we're just looking at the physical evidence that we have from the game itself, we have very little actually connecting this area, Addington's bookstore, to the Hand. And I know a lot of people are pointing at that symbol, but I don't understand that to be an overt symbol associated with the Hand. And then there's like a couple of swords on the wall and one sword on a table, and I guess that would suggest that the Hand may be involved, because the Hand is a group of ninjas, so like that makes sense. But I don't know, I feel like it's a little bit of a stretch, and I think a lot of people are really trying to find a way to rationalize that Daredevil is in the game, especially with Daredevil on the mind with those recent Intihar comments. But Nick, now that we have that patch that is changing the sign of Nelson and Murdock, I'm not sure how much stock I put into that Intihar tease anymore, because it does seem like it was maybe a mistake that was just patched. And to further rebut things here, we've also had a number of people who've also said that this hideout does not belong to the Hand or anything associated with Daredevil, but rather there is an alleged seal of Vishanti near the entrance, but I don't think that's a seal of Vishanti either. So I'm starting to believe that this whole location really is something that was just maybe designed for another purpose in the lead up to maybe designing some side content to this game in the development cycle, and ultimately it went unused. But if this is rather a seed for future DLC, then it remains to be seen what that purpose of this store, this location will be. But I'm also doubtful whether the Hand's secret hideout here would be in the Upper West Side. I'm thinking maybe that would be something more fitting for Hell's Kitchen, because of course we've seen all of the different Daredevil references baked into this game are located in Hell's Kitchen, because we do have Nelson and Murdock's law firm, we have Fogwell's gym, we have Josie's bar. There's so many locations that are throughout Hell's Kitchen itself, and I feel like if there was a reference to the hand playing into a Daredevil DLC, that would be in Hell's Kitchen as well. So I'm just kind of casting doubt on this whole situation, but who knows, hoping for the best.
Yeah, to be honest, this theory really more feels like people are just trying to will it into existence. And guys, don't get us wrong. I really hope that this is a reference to the hand and that we have this sick Daredevil DLC coming, because we have been some of the biggest advocates for Daredevil to be in this game and get his own standalone game. So I hope that your guys' theory out there is absolutely correct here. But I'm happy you brought up the location thing, Andreas, because that was my biggest thing about this whole theory that really kind of casts doubt for me. And that is, if this truly was intended to be an Easter egg for a potential Daredevil DLC down the road, don't you guys think they would have put that location in Hell's Kitchen as a little tease? Like, put it where Daredevil actually would be? Like, to me, that would make a lot more sense if they were trying to put a Easter egg for a DLC for that in this game, not putting it just randomly in the Upper West Side. Like, that location just doesn't really make any sense for Daredevil. It would have to be in Hell's Kitchen. So at least for me, that was the biggest thing that casted doubt for me outside of the logo itself, because again, the logo just doesn't really look like a logo of the hand. It looks kind of just random. Honestly, part of me is wondering if this was like potential Kraven stuff that just ended up getting scrapped. Like, because if you look at the internal parts of the room and like the overall ambiance of the room with the weapons and the shields, it does kind of feel similar to something that you would see from Kraven and his people. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was originally intended for that and then it ended up just being scrapped and they just didn't use it and they just tucked it away in the Upper West Side. But guys, let us know down below in the comments what you think. Do you think that this whole little theory going around is teasing a potential Daredevil DLC down the road? Do you guys think we're going to be getting that much DLC for this game? And if we do get DLC and it does turn out to be Daredevil DLC, what would you guys like to see that DLC be about? Personally, I would love for them to find a way to get the hand into this game. I think that would be so exciting, because like I said, it would allow for characters like Elektra and Stick to show up, and that would just be an incredibly electric DLC, having Spider-Man and Daredevil and Elektra all together. Like, there is so much potential there. It would be so incredibly exciting. So definitely, guys, let us know what you would like to see out of DLC in Marvel Spider-Man 2. We are so excited to hear your thoughts on that, because you guys always have so many interesting theories and thoughts about this game, and we love reading through it. Also, let us know your thoughts on the change to the Nelson and Murdock sign and how that impacts what Bryan Intihar said last week, because now at this point in time, we're not entirely sure what to think about this situation, because on one hand, it feels like a mistake, but then you have Bryan Intihar saying, you know, good catch, stay tuned. So maybe something is coming, maybe it's not. Definitely let us know your thoughts on that. But guys, that is going to do it for us for this one. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, we will see you all next time.